Hello again. Do come in. It's nice to see you. I haven't seen you for at least a week, so you're obviously enjoying the stories. Well, I've just finished a new one, and I think I'd like to share it with you if that's okay. Anyway, this is another adventure of my dear companion Hoggle. He's been having quite a few adventures recently, and this is his latest edition. The golden hour was fading over the mossy marches when the frantic chirping of a robin woke Hoggle from his post-lunch nap. Now Hoggle, a ginger tabby whose substantial girth was matched only by the polished brass of his ranger's badge, stood and smoothed his whiskers. He didn't just live in the woods, he protected them from his home, Hogglestone, a cottage tucked into the roots of a great oak, where lavender-scented smoke drifted lazily from the chimney. Panic in the woods. "He's gone! The young buck thistle!" cried a frantic squirrel, trembling on a low-hanging branch. "The shadow witch must have snatched him. We saw a dark shape by the creek." The forest. "Hello, Tango. Have you come to join the story? Come on then, old boy. Let's see." Well, this is Tango, and Tango is Hoggle's uncle. Come and sit with me, Tango, whilst we tell the rest of the tale. That's it, you get up on my shoulder. Where were we? Panic in the woods. "He's gone! The young buck thistle!" cried a frantic squirrel, trembling on a low-hanging branch. "The shadow witch must have snatched him. But we saw a dark shape by the creek." The forest held its breath. The shadow witch was the local bogeyman, a figure blamed for every lost nut and sour berry. Hoggle, however, knew that the witch was actually quite busy knitting sweaters for her hairless cats and rarely kidnapped anyone. "Calm your tales," Hoggle rumbled, his voice like dry leaves over gravel. "A ranger does not jump to conclusion. A ranger sniffs." The investigation. Hoggle waddled, with a great dignity of course, toward the creek. He ignored the gasp of mice and the worried hooting of the owls. He reached the water's edge and saw the dark shape, a discarded wet cloak from a passing hiker. Then his nose twitched. Amongst the moss there was a faint shimmering residue. It smelled like burnt sugar and starlight. It was the unmistakable trail of pixie mushroom. Hoggle sighed, a sound that shook his entire belly. "The moon was full last night," he muttered, "and young Thistle has always been much more curious than clever, just like his uncle Tango." The discovery. Hoggle followed the trail deep into the whispering ferns. There, underneath a glowing canopy of blue fungus, he found the kidnapped deer. Thistle was not in a cage. He was sprawled out on a bed of clover, snoring so loudly he was blowing the petals off nearby daisies. His tongue was slightly blue, and he had a goofy, content smile on his face. He hadn't been stolen. He had simply licked a pixie mushroom, gotten hopelessly lost in a dream about flying carrots, and had fallen into a deep, magical slumber. How are you finding this adventure, Tango? Reminding of your younger years when you used to go on adventures? The return. Hoggle didn't wake him with a shout. Instead, he reached into his ranger's satchel and pulled out a small vial of strong peppermint oil. He held it under the buck's nose. Thistle's ears flicked. His eyes popped open. The carrots, they had wings, Hoggle. Quite, Hoggle replied, nudging the young deer toward the path. Carrots with wings indeed. Your mother has hooves, and she'll use them on your backside if we don't get you home. As they emerged from the ferns, the forest creatures cheered, convinced Hoggle had fought off a dozen monsters to save the boy. Hoggle didn't correct them. A ranger knew when to be humble, and when to let a good story keep the peace. By the time the moon rose again, Hoggle was back at Hogglestone, curled up by his lavender-scented fire, dreaming of nothing but his next bowl of cream.